Hello, welcome to Holocron Entries, ExplosionNetwork.com Star Wars podcast. Today we're talking about Star Wars Visions again, part 2. And we're breaking down the final 5, the back end of the episodes. If you haven't listened to part 1, we covered the first 4 episodes in that. That is the Jewel, Tatooine Rhapsody, the Twins, the Village Bride. Today, we're talking about the Ninth Jedi, TOB1, the Elder, Lopin Oko, and Akakiri. My name's On Blight, and joining me, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here to talk about a bunch of Mary Sues.
Wow. Calm down, Max Landis. Also here, Kieran Marchant.
Vroom.
What was that?
Well, like through like a whole bunch of these episodes and the start of every episode, it's
the start lightsaber
it's the
sound,
lightsaber sound. Is like, man, the theme of this show was like, okay, guys, lightsaber sound. Do what you can around that.
Gotta be honest though, lightsaber sounds are one of the most known and cool sounds in the history of anything.
Everybody wants a lightsaber.
It's true.
Everybody wants a lightsaber. Everybody gets a lightsaber.
It's true.
Star Wars Visions.
Season 1. Although weirdly, this comes up as season 0 or some weird shit on the track. By the way, it's really odd. All right, let's get into it. So, last week we kind of just kicked it off and introduced this order of going from least favorite to favoritist. Let's continue that because why not? They're both the same. So, let's go, Ash. What was out of these 5 your least favorite amongst them?
My least favorite, and again, like we just discussed last episode, they're still good. But my least favorite was Toby. The story of a droid Jedi, apparently.
Yeah. No. You mean the story about Astro Boy, the Jedi?
Yeah, it was pretty much Astro Boy / Mega Man / any robot child movie. You know, yeah. I mean, it kind of just treaded stories we've seen before, you know, and then he picks up a lightsaber at the end and fights off the big bad who killed everybody.
I feel like you could say that for like a good portion of these episodes.
I mean, it's true.
Like, is kind of the running theme of this section of Star Wars Visions.
But yeah,
so
I think the art style in this one was like the most cartoony, like even more than like Tatooine Rhapsody. And I didn't love this one.
So Science Saru does is the animation studio behind this. We'll actually be coming back to them because they also did Akakiri. Is it Akiri?
Akakiri.
Akakiri.
There's an extra A in there.
Yeah. They did both those, but they've also done Devilman Crybaby,
which is massive.
Which is definitely not like this. Another thing that I recognize the name of was Space Dandy. There might be other stuff in here that I just don't know is popular, but that's what stood out to me looking at their Wikipedia. And this doesn't look like any of those series. Well, I guess it's more Space Dandy, maybe, I guess, but definitely very, very Astrobot. Yeah, this was also my least favorite. So we're tick for tick so far. It was just I didn't. Actually, I would say I don't like this one full stop. I wouldn't put this in the category of, well, you know, like it's the least favorite of the 9 that were all good because it was Star Wars or whatever. I didn't really like this at all. I just felt like it was just very sort of like, all right, let's like sort of fit a bloody Astrobot story into Star Wars somehow. And the fact that it ultimately leads to him picking up a lightsaber and just having a battle. And I'm like, I don't know. It was just, it didn't really do. It wasn't really
why
an
is
interesting
he turning this vent?
Just, yeah, I don't know. It wasn't interesting, in my opinion. The animation was...
There was no explanation for the science project that she's working on. It's like... Yeah.
All the hard-hitting questions are missing.
I mean, the most interesting question would be, can a droid feel the Force?
Well...
And it's kind of never discussed. It's just, he's okay with the lightsaber.
Technically, I would have to say yes, because they drill it into you that the Force does run through everything, all living beings. So I guess the question is...
Are droids living beings?
Are droids living beings? What do sheep dream of?
And the other thing, I guess, we didn't go too far into was what is Toby different from your average droid? Is there something that the Jedi Master had done to make Toby more in tune with the Force?
Building with a kyber crystal.
He gets a lightsaber and then he suddenly turns into a real boy.
Wow. It's Pinocchio.
Yep.
Where's this rank for you, Kieran?
I think it's about the same. I would still put this slightly above the twins just because I really like the art style for this one. I think, for me, I think out of all of them, this is the #cuties episode of the show for general kind of art style, in my opinion. And look, there was something a little bit hype about the end fight scene. That was just very... it was Astro Boy through and through. It really was. Just, you were sitting there, I was watching, I was like, man, this is just... Especially the end where, his little companion robot turned into a little jetpack for him. I was like, damn, this kind of goes back to not just Astro Boy from my childhood, but even, Power Rangers to some extent, where you have, an item transforming into, a piece of armor or something to power him up. So it had a bit of a softer spot for me, but I do agree. It was probably one of the weaker ones, and I think it was in the string of episodes that felt like they were kind of treading on each other's toes a lot of the time, that I felt like this was, it just kind of brought this down even further for me.
What was your least favourite then of the five?
My least favourite is still the twins. I think.
Okay, so this was your least favourite of
out of these five.
Out of these five, this is my least favourite. My apologies. Okay. Yeah.
What is your second least favourite then?
The Elder.
Out of these five.
The Elder. Is my next least favourite. And maybe this is because of its positioning within the series for itself. And I think this was the most... I don't want to say... It was almost the most normal Star Wars story out of all of them, really, in terms of, following a Jedi and its Padawan landing on a mysterious planet, having to track down what's going on, seeing a spaceship that's clearly a Sith spaceship. The Padawan gets owned by the Sith Lord. The Jedi Master comes and beats the Sith Lord or the person who's from the Sith. I think I probably would have liked this much better if they had followed through and actually killed off. Was it Dan? It's Daniel, I think it is.
I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know. This just felt too normal Star Wars for me, which maybe might be a good thing in terms of this, but just didn't hit right with me going forward.
I really like this one. This one's one of my. Your criticisms are fine if they were turn-offs for you, but I guess they were positives for me because I just enjoyed the straight-up sort of very simple story. I like the animation. I like the art style. I like the design and look of the Elder. I feel like this could actually just be one of those stories that isn't too crazy, and you could actually just sort of flick the canonical switch onto this one, and it would fit in fine without anything crazy going on. There's no really over the top Force powers or lightsaber stuff happening here. It's all really cool. I love the fact that whatever the Jedi Master's name is. I love the part where he takes the old man's his secondary lightsaber and cuts it in half in front of his face. That was really good. And then you get the classic sort of old man angry anime face that follows up from the Sith Lord after that, which is really cool. But yeah, I quite enjoyed this. I mean, it is a very simple, sort of straightforward. As you said, they land. There's a Sith. They have a battle or whatever else, which maybe I'd get sick of after a while. But I guess done well out of these 9 episodes worked for me. I enjoyed it. What do you think, Ash?
Yeah, it's middle of the pack for me out of this batch, number 3. So yeah, I liked it as well. I think. It's kind of, again, a simple story, but I thought the fight was worth the wait. And then it's this is a person who's been fully enveloped by the dark side, and is purely there to kill Jedi, I guess, or wanting to kill and that kind of stuff. Like Aaron said, I think it would have been improved if they had have killed Dan. I think, but it's fine. And I
agree. They should have killed him. Yeah.
I think it could have been cut a little bit, what was the thing with the ship? Was that his ship or
That was his ship. Yeah, that was his ship that he had landed on. That wherever.
So, to me, it sounds like this is set after Old Republic times. It's like during the sort of great years of the. It's set during the great period of the Jedi, somewhere there.
On Wikipedia, it says centuries after the death of Darth Bane.
Yeah.
So this could be like High Republic times, even, right? Like this.
Yeah, it could anywhere amongst like their like Old Republic and the original prequels. Sorry, anywhere in between there, it seems like this is where it's set because you've got two Jedi who are like, man, Sith, like it's a myth, like they shouldn't be around, and the fact that the Padawan's like, are you a Sith? Like, because he's never met one or whatever, like he's very much only heard about them, and then he's like, well, I'm not actually a Sith anymore, I'm just a crazy motherfucker.
I will say it was odd hearing David Harbour's voice coming out of that character, though, out of Tajin.
It worked, though.
I think.
No?
I don't know.
I can't comment.
It's fine. I think, yeah. I don't know. It's just a very Asian-looking character. I would think it would have been better if they had used one of the Asian actors here, maybe.
Yeah, I guess so. Who's the other cast in this?
James Hong was the elder, and then Jordan Fisher was Dan.
I guess they at least had a Asian person play the elder. That was maybe wouldn't have got away with that one.
That's true.
My second least favorite is the one I can't pronounce. Akakiri. I feel like I would have liked this any other day of the week or something like that. And I feel like maybe a lot of the reasons I sort of didn't like it that much is because it is the last episode. And I was like, it has a very much deflating, is that all? Like, sort of feeling to it. And also the ending isn't super happy, or like really definitive even, which is fine. But to a degree, since it's the last one, I would have preferred something that was actually sort of enclosed. Like, if you'd put the Elder last in the series, I feel like that would have worked better because at least it's a closed...
Ends on a positive note, like...
Yeah, closes the story.
Him telling him you need to be kind or whatever, and like...
Yeah.
Talking about the hope... Or like... Yeah, one of the other episodes that we have towards the end of this, if that had been last, I think... I agree. I think, again... I think placement in this series is like, sure, you can watch them in any order, but the order in which they're laid out, I think there could have been some tweaking.
That's like saying, but it's a legit complaint people have when they review like music albums to say that the order of songs is wrong, so that's a criticism or whatever. And I don't think it's any different when you're talking about this sort of show. So
no, because this run ends on 2 episodes with downer endings. It's like, really?
Yeah, it was really weird, and all in all, this episode just felt like a lot of setup, and then there's no like actual ending, and I didn't really gravitate to any of the characters. I guess the art style was cool. It really felt like the first episode of something else, which some of the other ones in here do too, but this one's the last episode of the show, so that's why I was kind of like, yeah. So this is my second least favorite. What were your thoughts on it, Kieran?
This is actually my favorite one of this batch.
Oh, dang.
Like this was actually, I thought this had the most potential to be turned into more of a story. I feel like the only negative was just the fact that it had to be fit into a 20-minute episode, rather than kind of being used for a larger series. Like, if you were to ask me, okay, which 2 episodes or whatever, however many episodes you want to be converted into actual things, this would be 1 episode, and then the duel from the first episode would be the same. I really enjoyed the ending, and I really liked the ending.
It's a cool ending. I don't have an issue with this.
Yeah, no, I really...
Everything leading up to it.
I just think that, I guess my hopes and my preconceptions about this series as a whole going into this was just, hey, go do whatever you want with Star Wars and do stuff that's off the wall and different. And just do something that write your own stories with it. And I think for me, the ending of this one did a really good job of that in many ways. Even though we have seen, of course, a number of Jedi throughout the year change, I think when you put it in context of the rest of this series, I think it did the best job of doing something a bit different with the same kind of thing. And I think with Ashley saying, placements, everything, I feel like maybe the last 4 of these episodes could have just been reshuffled further into the 9 episodes, and just to space it out and be a little bit. And it's because I feel like all 4 of the last episodes kind of had very similar themes and base stories to them, in terms of kind of just a general kind of quote unquote mentor character, and then having a Padawan or having somebody that is a Mary Sue. And I think, I was just as an overall, not gripe, but overall thing ambition that I was hoping for with this series is that they weren't going to contain themselves to all Jedi stories or Jedi related stories. And I think they ended up, I think everyone is Jedi related in one way or another. I don't mind, like, say, Tatooine Rhapsody, where it's kind of the Jedi story is kind of underlying in it all, whereas every one of these episodes is just all centered on the Jedi and kind of around that. I wish 1 or 2 of the episodes had just gone a little bit different.
Let's do something about some bounty hunters, or
bounty hunters, or do something. Yeah, just do something.
I mean, it makes
different.
sense because obviously Jedi are very based on Japanese samurai, so
yes, they are.
That would be the thing that would lean most to. But yeah.
Right.
This was my second favorite of the batch. So, second bottom for the batch. I think the art style was like hard to like, especially to start off with. Like that opening fight is like quite ugly in my opinion. But yeah, I think it gets more interesting as the episode goes along and is better defined, I guess. And I like the ending. It's like a real cool downer ending. Like, you think for a second, is he going to double cross the Sister Lord? Maybe, but no. He's just going to stay true to his word, knowing that he saved the girl that he loves or whatever. So, yeah. I think again, placement was the major factor against this one.
Yeah.
All right, so we got 3 left. So let's actually just switch directions and go.
We got 2 left, right?
We've got 2 left.
2, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, 2.
Yep.
2 left, so let's just go this way. Ash, what was your favorite of the 5?
My favorite was the 9th Jedi. I thought it was like a really cool like setup, a lot of interesting visuals, like kind of partially focusing on like a cool, like on someone who actually makes lightsabers. It's like that's an element of Star Wars we haven't really seen any of before. And then, you get this cool action chase sequence. You get this old dodgy robot that, going super slow as she's trying to get to this other planet, and there's double crosses and there's like sick reveals and like all this other stuff. I thought it was the most complete story out of this batch.
This is my favorite as well. I feel like this to me is the one for everything as Kieran was sort of saying about like expanding upon turning into like a full-on series or whatever. This is my pick for what I would like to see the most. And
this is the one I wish they'd ended on, I think.
Yeah, well, to a degree. My thing with this one is also that like I like this so much. Like I like the characters, I like the general pitch, I really like the main character, I like the design, everything like that. But if they were to, like, this is not where I'm like, do another episode. This feels like the first. I'm like, no. Like, this was like the pitch. So let's go back and let's like spend a bit more time. Because like the one negative I have with this is at times it feels a bit rushed. Like, especially towards the end, it's like, not that it ruins it for me, but I'm like, cool. You get a cool sort of hero shot. Then they're off to save the world. Like, I'm like, if you want to turn this into a series, but like the events of this 20 minutes or whatever, let's like make this the first like 2-3 episodes. You know what I mean? Like let's spend more time with the characters. Let's like have a little bit there. Let's introduce some other elements. But like everything that's here to me is the number one thing where I'm like, I want to see this. I want to see these characters back. I really like the general premise of this. I love the bait and switch. The moment where they light up those sabers and they're all fucking red, I was like, oh my fucking God. That was like the one like, oh my God, you got me good.
Yeah, like especially when they're like setting up beforehand, like
because they make sure the other dude
changed
you make sure the one dude who turned him was like, it's like blue, green, or whatever he said when. I'm like, so your mind's like at ease, and then as soon as they light them up and they're all red, I'm like, oh, what a gotcha moment. Like the gotcha moment of the series to me. I was like, it got me good. So yeah, this is definitely my favorite. I'd love to see this as a series. Well, where's this place for you, Karen? What are your thoughts?
This is 3 for me. I really like this story overall. I think it does feel super rushed. I'd really love to have had a bit more intrigue and mystery to be like, okay, which of these characters, and spend some more time with the Sith characters as in a more ambiguous setting without realizing that they are, Sith trained and they're there to ruin everything. But at the same time, I think having that time would have ruined the payoff of having that scene with all of them lining up their lightsabers at the same time. It would have done that. So I think having that for this episode's great. If they do go make a whole series out of this or a book or whatever, having this more spaced out, having you spend more time with the characters, having a bit more time for the main female lead to kind of build up her life a little bit more beforehand with her father. I think overall this was great. I thought even though it kind of made me shake my head a little bit because it kind of falls into the theme of how important lightsabers are for visions in general, but just that end shot of it kind of flipping 180 degrees and showing that the whole asteroid is just a giant lightsaber in shape with the light coming out of the bottom of it.
I keep every time you bring up the lightsaber thing, I put it out there now so I just don't forget to mention it later. But I do have a lightsaber take at that for this whole series, but it's specifically ties to a story we haven't talked about yet. So I'll wait. Okay. But yes,
we'll get to it in a second. All right.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a second. The other thing I was thinking, as just quickly while you're saying that, I was like, the thing that I think they could do if they did a whole series to make the bait and switch work is because you make it and just assume that some people watch this, some people haven't. If you was to do a full anime series, right? You could start it with all of the Sith having already killed the Jedi, and you could even spend a couple episodes of them pretending to be Jedi and still do the reveal. I still think it would work if you carried you along with those characters for a few episodes. Or at least maybe at least one episode. Maybe too long, you'd begin to feel like it's a bit weird. They're not just you clue you in. But I reckon you could get away with a couple episodes of them on the journey to the Jedi, the tower, or whatever.
They all get the message from whatever.
Yeah.
Even I appreciate that the Pokemon was a Grey Jedi. Sorry, he looks like a Pokemon. I don't even think that's a normal race for Star Wars that I've ever seen.
I don't recall seeing,
But yeah, he looked like a Pokemon.
Margrave?
No, not Margrave.
Oh, no, the other guy. The guy
who starts as Sith because he got overtaken by the dark energy in the area and then had a purple lightsaber once the others had been defeated. I think that's a cool mark to include the lore of Grey Jedi and kind of their position in Star Wars and lore, because overall that's something pretty avoided by most of kind of Star Wars current canon. And I think there was lots of interesting characters in this one, definitely.
I also reckon Malgrave, or whatever his name was, the dude.
Malgrave,
it's he's important for the bait and switch because they literally have him have these red eyes or whatever. So you're like, he's a fucking Sith, obviously. Look at the red eyes. He's a Helghast from Killzone. What are you doing?
Even the way all the Jedi are talking when they first meet is in a way that they just all accept them instantly. They all accept that they're all Jedi, and then that the potential for the Margrave to actually be Sith or somebody trying to hunt them down and kill them. Immediately from that point in the story, you just kind of accept that they're all Jedi, and you accept that the character that you're supposed to be suspicious of is this Margrave character.
Yeah. Also, this is the most violent one of these, I think.
Yeah,
that fight scene was
everyone
you
gets
full on burn somebody alive, right?
He completely burned someone alive. He also chopped so many people in half.
Yeah.
So there was a lot happening in this one. All right, so we got one left, which is
Lop and
Oko. Ash, where's this rank for you? What do you think?
This is number 2 of this batch, I think, Again, kind of a story we've seen many times before, the clan story of the child that believes they know better. It's almost, and then to a certain degree, it's like Final Fantasy VII. with like the environmental message in like this industrial city. But yeah, and then it's the child that's been adopted that is like the good child and like who hadn't been appreciated before and that kind of stuff. And the only one that like featured like an alien as like the lead. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was like very like a good well-rounded story. Good character design, cool like action sequences. That lightsaber looked pretty cool. I think obviously it ends on this downer note that you kind of hope you get to see more of. Like, just you want to know how their story continues.
Yeah.
I love this episode. I thought there was something really Studio Ghibli about this episode, like just all out kind of how the world was designed and the characters. Going to the point about me wanting people to do more off the wall stories and more interesting stories. Having the opening of this being about how the kind of Lopez was previously a slave to the Empire and how their life came around, and then jumping 7 years into the future and building up this resistance and building up the characters. I think it was all really good though. This was definitely my second favorite out of the current batch, and I think it had the most. I almost want to say darker tones to it in terms of character relationships and character kind of conversations. Especially all with the father figure. His conversation being like, "Look, I realize now that I treated you second best throughout your life, and I'm sorry for that." And then even his melancholy statement when he loses his other eye is like, this is a lot more of a somber kind of natured aspect to it. But I loved it. Once again, another one that you're like, I think that's probably the one thing to say about this set of show episodes is that probably 3 of these all have what I think is worthy aspects to be turned into larger series or larger stories going on.
I think this is like my second favorite too. I agree with everything everyone said. The thing that stood out to me the most about this one though is I actually feel like it's the most anime of this bunch, or the one I felt like was the most. True. It's it's not even like a look or anything. It's just the story, the characters, the themes. Like you're saying, like, oh, Final Fantasy VII, like it's all of that sort of stuff that feels like it's the most proper anime about it. And the other thing, while I was watching it, I began thinking about that, and then it led to other thoughts, which was the lightsaber stuff, which I sort of like came to me while watching this, but I guess like carried forward to all these episodes, which is I began thinking about how differently I feel like these Japanese animation studios are treating lightsabers weirdly to the way American directors, writers treat lightsabers in their stuff. Because when you kind of look at Star Wars, lightsabers are these like, they're weapons or whatever, but they're kind of like treated like guns to a degree where they're like, they don't want to say like there's anything special about them, like it's about the person who wields them and all this sort of stuff. It's never like, lightsabers aren't particularly held up as this sort of like, whoa, there's this like great, like holy thing. But you watch this and lightsabers are treated more like a katana or something would be in an actual samurai film.
A family
like
sword.
Family heirloom. Like this lightsaber could be created like by a special master who wielded one that's more powerful. Like it's all that sort of stuff that you don't usually get in Star Wars, which leads to this sort of different angle. Like between this and everything else, the fact that they have this like great family heirloom lightsaber, and his her sister's like, you can't have that and wield that and all this sort of stuff. Like these are elements you just don't see in Star Wars normally, but they do fit in rather well. It's
almost like this lightsabers are being treated with the same reverence that the Force is treated by Western writers in many ways. Like there is a more reverence and spiritual nature about the lightsabers and about, the kyber crystals don't actually give the color in the Ninth Jedi. It is the emotional energy of the wielder that gives the lightsaber the color and the length. And the lightsabers, I guess the Star Wars lightsabers in general are, for the most part, they are kind of minimal in design choices. They have their small tweaks of this is why this is this person's and this is how he likes it. Whereas there's a lot more cosmetic difference and change to lightsabers in this one. You find lightsabers in this whole series are more prominent to have cross guards and more prominent to have more katana-like aspects to them, and just general more sword kind of aesthetics to them, which I really loved and really enjoyed as a whole throughout the series.
Yeah, would agree. Any final thoughts on this one, anyone, or any of the episodes that we've talked about that you thought of?
But I will shout out, who was it? Anna Cathcart voices Lob, who's from To All the Boys I Ever Loved, young kitty. And then Yosaburo is Paul Nakauchi, who does the voice of Hanzo in Overwatch. Yeah. So, lots like there.
There's someone else I was gonna.
I'll just say I appreciate the Asian voice acting talent used throughout the series for English. I'm sure it would have been easy to. There are a couple of obviously big name white actors, but I think there's a pretty good amount of Asian representation in this. So good.
Seems like it's primarily Asian when you look through it.
It's a handful.
I feel like it's higher. You've just got at least one big name white person per episode. All right. Did you do? I've done my official ranking.
Yeah.
Yep. Same.
All right. So from bottom to top, Kieran, do all 9 episodes.
Sure. I have the twins, then the Elder, then Toby, then Tatooine Rhapsody, then the Ninth Jedi, then the Village Bride, Lip and Ocho, Akakiri, and the Jewel is my number 1.
Ash?
Mine is Toby, Akakiri, Twins, Tatooine Rhapsody, The Elder, Lop and Ocho, The Village Bride, The Ninth Jedi, and The Duel.
Coming off last week where there was a lot more, it felt like very similar. I feel like we've got a little bit of variety happening now.
Yeah.
All right. My number 9, Toby. Number 8, Akakiri. Number 7, Tatooine Rhapsody. Number 6, The Village Bride. Number 5, The Twins. Number 4, The Elder. Number 3, Lop and Ocho. Number 2, The Jewel. And number 1, The Ninth Jedi.
Yeah.
So I feel like ultimately The Jewel would probably still rank the highest, surely? As an average, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
For all of us.
And lucky we're getting more of that.
That's true. I pre-ordered that book.
Did you see they've posted photos of the cover and the book?
I did. So I was originally just going to buy it on Kindle, obviously, because that's where I read basically everything most these days. And then I saw it had pretty artwork, and I was like,
I need the hardcover of this.
I've ordered the book. Yep. So I'll be getting that one physically because I'm not missing out on that part, which makes sense, I guess, because it's it's based on a visual thing, so the art continues. But
visual artwork,
that's October 13th or 14th, the release date. So still got a couple weeks, I guess, before that comes out. But yes, I'm excited to get more of the Jewel, the Ronin character.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's where we'll see the continuation of these stories, if they're going to be continued anywhere.
I just find it's a really interesting series because you're like, is the idea that they'll do another run of this series and it's a bunch more random stories, or are Disney just playing it by ear, and now that they've put these out that they could then go back to some of these animation studios and go like, look, your series, your idea was super popular. We like it too. Would you like to actually just do a full series for Disney Plus?
Well, it's like a taster platter at a pub, right? You just get your platter of ales and beers, and then after you've done that, you then know which ones you like, and you just order those ones next time.
Well, I'd like to order some. How do where do I put my order in to get some, Lop and Ocho, the Jewel and Ninth Jedi, if I just want to go my top 3, Make those into shows. All right. I'll do it for this episode of Holocron Entries. I hope you've enjoyed our 2 episodes on the series. Hopefully we'll find out more about the show in the future, something like that. Hasn't been much. It's been a while since we've had like Star Wars stuff. Star Wars is like weirdly dry. Like you get so much fucking Marvel. I just can't get it. Like we constantly have Marvel happening, but we like Star Wars is like on a bit of a weird spell.
My prediction: Disney Plus Day, they'll drop the first episode of Book of Boba Fett.
First episode? No.
Yeah.
Maybe a trailer.
Have they filmed it all yet?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting that this year. We're apparently getting Mandalorian next year. Not the Book of Boba Fett's like it's taking over for it, basically.
Because Pedro Pascal's doing something else.
Yeah.
Some other gaming property by some temperamental dog.
Yeah, the dog. Yeah. And we also now though, what's his face gave an update the other day and said they finished filming Cassian, the Andor series. And
Kenobi's done.
Kenobi's done. So there's stuff on the way. So that'll be good. I don't know. So I don't know when maybe if they announce a bunch of trailers and stuff, we'll get on here and do like a trailer discussion like we do for Marvel stuff. Maybe I'll do a bonus episode talking about that fucking book when it's out. That could be fun. Either way, stay tuned to Holocron entries for more Star Wars content in the future because it is coming, even if we're a bit of a spell at the moment. But I guess talking about Marvel, if you want to hear us talk about that shit all the time because there's like never-ending Marvel shit to talk about. Check out all new Marvel casts. It's on ExplosionNetwork.com and all your podcast services as well. Until next one, bye-bye.